that a setting that I need to know about that you're mucking around with?
I'm trying to get the same head space as you.
You got a big head.
Trying to get our heads the same. There we go. Here we go.
Is that a setting in my thing that I should know about?
No, it's my camera.
Oh, your camera can do that.
I'm trying to get my
Looks like you. Drop down there, mate. You look like you're sitting on the ground. Don't do that. We're recording now.
But look at the background.
Mate, you look like you're in your office.
I've got I had to mirror the image behind me. I didn't know you had to do that.
Dang. Is that a thing I can do too? Don't do that.
Disco.
Jesus. For those listening, mate, you need to go and watch this. Josep's been a goofball mucking around with all of his settings.
Yeah, that's it.
I love it. You have to teach me the ways. Mate, what we do, first, we've talked about having you on this podcast for a long time. I've had the privilege of training you for a long time. I feel like we have a podcast every time we train, and we should just record it. But
I feel like I'm the news reporter for you, updating you on the news around the world.
Last hour coming around the gymnasium, we're going to cross across to Jenison to find out what's happening down in New South Wales in the gym. We could do that. But who are you? What do you do? That's the only real question I ask, because I know who you are. I know what you do, kind of, at least. But not too many people.
I have a few different identities, right?
Yeah, okay.
I've got some aliases because in the gym...
In the marketplace, you got a few.
Yeah, that's true. In the gym, I'm known as Mr. 200.
Yes, you are.
And that's because I never set a limit that I can achieve.
Yep, I love that.
Or hopefully one day, but that's in the gym. I'm Mr. 200. When I was a kid in 1992, I was DJ Monty.
DJ Monty.
Yeah, DJ Monty.
I find that on Spotify.
I don't know.
Where do we find?
Oh no, there's a black guy called DJ Monty as well. I'm not him. And front left corner was where I used to dance with the speakers, so I'll just be the rave DJ down there.
Yep.
But I've always been a cameraman.
Yep.
So that's what my dad taught me, and then I started filming sports. So I always filmed football and soccer.
League?
I must have filmed over all of them. Anything with a ball.
Yep, you did it.
Yeah, we did lacrosse and anything, even wheelchair basketball. Have you ever seen that?
That would have been savage.
It's wheelchairs, and they have a tennis ball, and they just they smash into each other, and that's actually the most exciting thing I've ever filmed.
Yep.
So that was where I was at, but the issue that I had was living in Sydney in like a really expensive apartment for rental and living probably beyond my means. And so I had to, instead of change beyond my means, I had to earn more money so I could keep the lifestyle up. So I think that's what it was all about.
Maybe, and stuff would have been wild.
Yeah, I think...
Do you recall any big games that you did?
Oh, yeah, all the big games. Oh, the biggest one was up at Newcastle. I'll never forget it because we invented separate angle shots. So it used to be one shot on the side, following them going left and right.
Yep.
Bob Fulton came up to my dad and he said, I want you to stick your son on the roof of Brookvale Oval. I want you to film the whole field.
Yeah, right.
Really smart guy because he said, I can't explain to the players where the gaps are going to be.
Yep.
You can't do it left and right, you know. So he strapped me onto the roof of up there.
What was that like?
It was fun. You know, I was young. I didn't even know it was safe or not. No one else did it. Dad just said, get up on that roof. I think you know what we had for safety? Just one of those ropes that you tie a boat up with. Like that would have held me.
Hang on to that with one hand and camera on the other.
Well, we had a tripod, so that was okay. And so we did that shot, which was wide, and Manly won that year. And then they stuck me behind the goalpost to get the perspective of behind the goalpost where the gaps were.
Yeah.
So no one was doing this, and that's what Dad kind of taught me. Then I was up in Newcastle one day shooting on top of a dumpster.
Yep.
Behind the goalpost, and there was a lightning storm.
Oh shit.
So this is all outdoor work, which was the problem because not only was it hard work, but you didn't have a choice what condition it was. So
Yeah.
man,
There's like, out there.
yeah. So I kind of enjoyed the pain.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. You would have traveled a bit around Australia too to do
Yeah,
it.
everywhere. Yeah, 4 hour travel here, 4 hour travel there.
Yeah.
Wasn't a big thing. When you're younger, it's okay. Then when you hit about 30, you go, "Oh, what am I doing? Have I ruined my whole life? Where
Yeah.
am I at the moment?" You start to assess stuff. You start getting a serious partner, and then
Mm.
they start saying, "When are we getting a home?" And you're saying, "Oh, what about a caravan? Will that do?" You go, no, it's not good enough. I had this talk. I'm now just to skip through a property developer.
Yep.
So I went from being cameraman to being a property developer. But I was talking to one of my students the other day because now I teach people how to do property development.
Yep.
And I said to them, my wife, security to her is having a home, maybe half paid off. That's what she wants, a house.
Yep.
Security to guys is your car, because we can live in our car. That doesn't seem to be the same way for most women. I know a lot of women might go, "Oh, it's all right for a little while," and it's funny from that perspective. The things that males and females, I think, hold different thought processes. Which is probably why women. I bet women save more money than guys do.
We're busy spending it.
As soon as you get in a relationship, you seem to start. Your bank account goes up. Or in my case, because she's like looking at every dime that I'm spending, and suddenly I can't buy 10 things at once. So,
Amy's
but
going up.
the long story short was, love working with my dad, but there's just not enough money in it, and no one would pay the bills when time came around.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's always just waiting and waiting and waiting for the bills. So I just had to figure out, if I wanted to stay in Sydney and I wanted to have the lifestyle that I was having there and not keep racking up the credit card, I had to find another way. And then I started getting other jobs instead of filming sports, to film people that would be at events. So I started filming someone on stage that talked about property.
Yep.
And I started thinking, hey, I don't have to be a real estate agent. I don't have to wear the suit and everything. I don't have to start off with a lot of money. There's so many different strategies that people were using, instead of just buying a house, but developing houses and that type of stuff. And that really changed it for me, because when I'm filming football or filming soccer, and probably people don't get a sense of me if they're listening to me, or if you see me right now, but I'm quite a skinny, lanky bloke. Even though I got a bit of build, a bit of strength, Johnny knows that. It's probably mostly in the mind. Probably sometimes I lift stuff and I go, how the hell did I lift that? I think it's the mind over matter. But I couldn't learn anything filming rugby league.
Yep.
I was never going to play the game.
Yep.
And so I'm filming, and basically most of the time I'd just be thinking about what am I going to do on the weekend, or listening to rave music.
Yep.
And sometimes I wouldn't even remember that I was filming, and I'd have to go back and go, did I actually film the last thing? Because I wasn't even thinking about it. It becomes automatic. But I did automatically. My body just did it. And so what happened is that then I started filming someone else.
Yep.
And I'm learning stuff.
Yeah, right.
This is like universities for me, because, man,
Yep.
I was the type of kid that I was a pretty famous DJ by the time I was in year 12.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, I'll just work for Dad because that's sweet. And I'll just DJ on weekends. And that was pretty much all I was doing. I didn't go to university. I got in. If I wanted to, I could have gone. It wasn't the best mark. I would have just like crawled my way in. Because I probably would have had to pay a bit for it. But I was really stuck, Johnny. I wasn't in a good place.
Yeah, yeah.
I was dead.
Yep. So what? For a minute, not allowed to talk about property. Set like a golden moment for you. Like, hang on a minute. We can.
Well, I've always said I'm a mentor to a lot of people now, because I started being very successful. Other people said, can you train me, or my friends and other people? And then I train them, and then I end up setting up Think Property Club, which thought, okay, well, I can train anyone if I have an online system.
Yep.
But I always found that my key in life is people.
Mm.
It's not really about what strategy is around there, but who's going to teach you that?
Mm.
Because you can have, you can be share market, you can be real estate, you can be like you guys do in the gym and everything there. You're never going to be good at something unless you really have someone else that takes it seriously as well. Like reading books, I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think you're going to get anywhere. Maybe if you're reading a biography on someone.
Yeah, I've seen how
There's
that.
always been people that came into my life
Mm.
so that woman that I was filming was a single mum. She was desperate. She needed to find a different way without lots of money to start out, and that's what really changed it for me.
Yeah.
And then it's similar to, man, you and I meeting.
Mm.
And then I'm checking you out because I check everyone out.
Mm.
And I'm going, geez, this guy's has his own startup, start up his own gym, and it's about barbell. And that I've had, investments in Anytime Fitness and that before. And I love the gym idea, but I hate that you're in the gym on your own most of the time.
Mm.
Yet there's just no one's really pushing you. No one's really sharing. These days it's just an Instagram studio, and then when I met you, you came along and you saw a barbell on the ground in my garage, and you went, "Do you like that thing?" And I went, "Yeah, I love. There's something about weights that I love." And you say, "Oh, come down to the gym. We'll give you a free go." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I checked you out, and I got there, and I'm like, as soon as I walked in, this camaraderie of all these people. How are you? And I was like, "Wow, I've never walked into a gym and a total stranger came up to me and said, 'Welcome, come on in.'" And it was it's a good feeling.
Yeah, we do it different.
Yeah. And then the passion of yourself with your gym and with the barbells and the way that everyone is like, doesn't matter if I go in there and I've got little muscles and I'm not used to it. It didn't matter. It's just, hey, you're part of it now. You're joining our community, and we'll get you wherever you need to be. That's what it was. So the similarities in that is in when I got to real estate, I found someone that really believed in me more than I believed in me.
Mm.
So I think that's what you are trying to, you're someone that straight away, I'll say, "Oh man, I don't think I can lift more than 20 kilos. You're like, "No, we'll have you up to 100 in the next, couple of weeks. Don't worry, we'll get you there." I'm like, "Okay."
Absolutely. And did you see this lady and like she was on that path and you're like, "Yeah, that's what I need. I want that. I like the idea of that." And then you just like all in. How do we do it?
Yeah, I actually sat down with her after filming one day.
Yep.
And I sat down, and I'll never forget this conversation because she thinks I want to talk to her about filming, because I'm filming her and we're going to edit it and put it out to wherever she needs it done. And then I said, "I actually want to talk to you about real estate." So I said, "Oh, really?" And I said to her, "Do you think I can do what you're doing?" And she went, "No." That was her advice. She said, "No." And I said, "Well, why not?" And she goes, "Because that's not, if you think you can, then that's not good enough. You need to be actually telling me why you need to do this."
Yeah, right.
If you're thinking about it, then you'll never get anywhere. It's just be think.
Yeah.
So I need to, if you really want to do this, you need to, it's different from what you're doing now. You need to be committed. You need to tell me why you want to do it. So then she goes on, why would you need to do this? Why would you need to do what I do?
Yeah.
Because she's a mentor. She knows how to get through people's heads.
Yeah.
And her process was getting me to think about, why did I need to do this rather than just need to do it?
Yeah.
And then I said to her, because I've got 30,000 credit debt, I've got a car, I can't pay it off in time. I really want to, I'm not making enough money where I am, but I love living in Sydney. I want to have the same lifestyle. I want to pay off, have up my own home and all this type of stuff. She goes, "Okay, that's great." Then she got even worse. And she said to me, "Well, what have you done so far to increase your wealth?" And I went, "Well, I tried eBay. How'd that work?" Not really great. I tried. What else did I try? I tried starting up this other company, and someone ripped me off. And then I tried doing camera work,
Yep.
And I tried, doing editing, and then that guy didn't pay me, and she goes, well, at least now you know what doesn't work.
Yep.
So you need to just say, okay, do something completely different. And that really sunk in my head. Like, we all think we have to get better at what we're doing now. And we're scared to change. But then she said, okay, well, what would it be like if you didn't do camera work and you didn't do tech work and you just totally flipped it and started doing stuff in real estate? And I said, well, yeah, that sounds great. She goes, the thing is, when people switch what they're doing, they get a different result. So she said, you're doing tech stuff, you're trying to do camera stuff, you're trying to work more hours, you get the same result. Not enough money. People don't pay you on time. It's hard work. You get a bad back. Things go wrong. You hurt yourself and all this type of thing. And the maximum income was going to be 100 grand in my day if I was working my ass off. Like, that was the thing. But then she said, okay, if you do real estate, the result's going to be at least 50 grand even on the smallest deal. And then I was like, wow, 50 grand, that would be amazing. And I remember the first deal we did, we made 70,000. And still today, I know that, like, you and I come from the same suburb almost,
Yeah.
where it's like, as a kid, to me, 70,000, I feel like a bank robber or something like that,
It must have felt nice to see that hit the bank account.
That's like, I make millions now, but that first 70,000, I just couldn't believe it, because I didn't even think I had the capacity to do that. That would be like me lifting the 200 kilos, right?
What was the deal? Do you remember the thing? What was it?
So we had to find. It's probably even a worse story here. I'm kind of getting into myself here a bit, but I suppose people can probably relate to it, which is good, to be honest. I hadn't done my tax for 5 years.
Been there.
You have? Okay, good. As a subcontractor, I'll put it off.
Yeah.
And
if you don't do it, you don't have to pay it.
That's true. I don't know. I can't even remember how I got that bad, but I hadn't done it. Obviously, it was going to catch up with me one day, so I couldn't get a loan.
Yeah, of course.
It had to be like low doc, what they call low doc.
Yeah.
My partner, Amy, she had got a new job. So even though she was earning 60 to 80,000, she just got a new job, which was going to be more money, but then it's a new job. So when we went to the bank, we said, how much can we borrow? I earn like 80,000 a year. Amy's like going to be close to that too. I'm a subcontractor, which is never good for borrowing. She's a full-time, so she's okay. They said, well, we've looked at your situation, both you guys, and we're thinking, oh yeah, maybe $500,000 or $1 million or something. And they said 90,000. And that's good. People like look at it and go, what, 90,000? And so Amy and I said, well, we know the strategy and we start doing subdivision. That was our thing. That's where we knew we'd make money, because other people don't know how to do it, the average person. So you're not getting competitive there. And all you got to do is find blocks that are big enough land size, find out that the council says you can divide this block of land if it's this size. And then we had the budget of 90,000. That was it. And so we started in Sydney, and we just started going radiuses out of Sydney, an hour out of Sydney, 2 hours out of Sydney, 3 hours out of Sydney. We were still trying to find something that we could subdivide that we could afford for 90,000. We ended up 9 hours away in a place called Narandra, which people will know Wagga Wagga.
Oh, right.
So it's 1 hour out of Wagga Wagga. And we found a house on 1,000 square meters, which was 89,000.
Deal done.
So yeah, so we had to drive down there every weekend to we had to fix it up too. It wasn't even a great house. So that was the first deal we did. But again, without the education, we would have just bought a house. So we bought a house on a block of land that we could subdivide the side of the land on the side, left-hand side.
Yep.
And so that's where we drove down there, bought this block of land. Silly enough, we were so fresh to this, we didn't even know you could negotiate the price.
You just pay full.
89,000. Okay, good. Yep. Okay. Yeah, we'll try to get the loan. We'll come see you next week. There was one agent in town, Barry Walsh was his name, and it was we could have got it for 60 or something. I don't know. Like, it's crazy. It'd been on the market probably 2 years. Who knows? Because in a small town back then, they didn't have. I started in 2008. They didn't have too much stuff around on the internet or anything like that. You kind of just went and saw a local bloke.
Yep.
So we bought that one. We thought we'd rent over place up, so did that type of stuff. Went down there every weekend, so 9 hours there on a Friday, Sunday drove back. And then what happened?
Back to work Monday.
Yeah, back to work Monday, definitely. But we had a place and we wanted to reno it so that we could rent it out. So we did it Sydney style, and we did all nice outside, put some fly screens on it, put these plants outside the house and all this type of thing. Amy went and bought these pots, changed all the light fixtures, because we're thinking these people in the country would want something that was like the city,
Yeah.
And then the roof was like a rusty roof, so we thought, we'll paint the roof, it will look good. So I got up on the roof and started painting the roof. Took me 2 days to paint the roof, because I only had a very small brush, because I didn't bring a brush, so the only brush available in town was about the size of an iPhone. That was about it. So, but I'm painting this roof, and everyone knows me. I'm famous for this in the industry. I'm a very successful property developer. Can help anyone be a multi-millionaire through no money down deals, which means you don't have to put money in it. I can show you how to do it without money and just use the skill and all that. Got all this famous following and everything. And everyone just knows me as the guy that painted the roof with a 1-inch paintbrush. That's my legacy, because that's what everyone knew me when I first started out. But I painted that whole roof. But what I say is, it took me 2 days to do this hot tin roof, painting it gunmetal grey or something like that. Just because I thought, it will look nicer, But the whole time I'm looking at the block of land to the left. I'm going, why am I doing this? Why am I painting this roof? Why don't we just go and get a subdivision going on now and then subdivide this land off instead?
It makes me cash.
And then we finished the house and we got it rented, which was good straight away. So we bought 89,000. We have a block of land pretty much on the left, and we have the house rented for about $130 a week. So that was good. It was going to pay a lot of that mortgage repayment.
130.
As soon as people went there, do you know what they did?
What?
They got those 3 pot plants at Amy, beautiful plants with a nice tree in it on the front porch. Amy had done that. They got them, put them out the back, and put an old couch on the front porch. So angry.
Missed the market.
We were like, wait a second, So we'd done all this effort to do all this stuff, and it was funny. It didn't even change. It didn't matter at all. And we'd even gone and re-stumped the place underneath. It wasn't that great underneath, and no one cared. So did all these things that the average person would think would make a difference there. But then we went and subdivided off the block of land to the left-hand side.
Yeah.
We went down to the council and we just said, can we subdivide this block of land? And they were like, oh, yeah, great. And then they said it's going to cost $6,000 in fees to do it.
Yep.
No one really does it in that area. No one subdivides land because they have big areas, even though it's definitely a spare block on that street. Like there was no houses all the way up and down the street, but this one was just built on this double block. And when we gave them the $6,000 for the subdivision approval, it was great. Like the subdivision approval, then we're like, oh, we need to get the paperwork now ticked. The whole council office down Durandra went on a fishing trip. That's what the $6,000 was paying for. They were like, guys, we got a subdivision. We got some guy paid us for a subdivision, and they went fishing for a month. And so we were like, we need it stamped so that when we can have a separate title. Like they'll be back. I think it was a week, not a month, but next month they'll do it. And we're like, oh, where are they? Fishing trip. I bet you anything. They didn't plan that. It was just like, these $6,000 boys, let's go. So, because we paid cash, we walked in there. I don't even know if they even declared it. I don't know. Who knows? But
local dodgy council out there.
Well, I'm not saying they are or not. All I know is exactly what happened. Paid them, fish
You
trip next
know
day. Yeah. So a month later, we get the title through Subdivision now. We go back to the bank and we say, we now have one house on this block. It's getting 130 a week. And we have a block of land to the left. We now subdivide that block of land off. And I thought, how much is a house worth now? We paid in 9,000. We just cut off half the land. And the bank goes, it's worth 89,000. And we're like, doesn't it go down? They go, we don't care about how big or small the block of land is. We just care how much rent it brings in.
Yeah, job done.
Bringing in less money now because it's on a smaller block. As long as it's still bringing in 130, you're sweet. So
was that a moment for you when you saw all that's taking place? You're like, well, this is real.
Yeah, and then we got the land valued, and the land valued up at 20,000. So we were like, hang on, we paid 6,000. We made 20,000. Now value out of that 6,000, and we were like, that's easy. Paint that, and we also said to the bank, we renovated the house.
Yeah,
I painted the roof. We put fly screens on. We've done the paint. We
Yeah,
even put we got some road that, what is it, the stuff they put on the road, like all those bits of, I can't remember what it's called now, road ag or whatever, and we put a little path out to the front. Here's a picture of it, and the bank's like, who cares? How much is it renting for? 130. Okay, it's worth 89,000. Do we get another 10 grand? Like value to the house? I painted the roof. We're thinking we do it up and we're going to get more money, valued from the bank. No, they didn't care. They just want to know what rent it gets.
Yeah.
But then we have this empty block of land, right?
Yeah.
We've got no more money left. And then we go, well, we've got to do something with this empty block of land. We can't rent an empty block of land out. And then we saw this strategy that I learned from my education of a removable house. So Cameraman is about 100 k's from there, and the guy at Cameraman moves houses for a living. So he would take a house away when someone didn't want the house anymore because it was cheaper than demolishing it. He'd just come along and pick it up. And so that's what he did. And he said, come along to my paddock, which is actually a paddock. And they had 10 houses just sitting there on what are those crates that when the forklift goes on, those big crates?
Sitting there ready to go.
They're like little flat things. So they're all sitting on these crates. And then I said, well, how do we get this to our place? He said, it's cut in half, and we just put it on one side truck, the other side of the truck, and we just go there, no problem, and dump it on your block of land, and we stump it, and that cost you, it was very cheap to do once it got there. And I said, well, how much is it, for that house? And he said, oh, well, that one there is going to be 60,000. I said, oh, it's too expensive. He said, well, what's your budget? And I said, I just came up with a figure. I just said, well, 40, And he said, oh, okay, we'll give it to you 40. I think he was just whatever he could get. I think he was just trying it on.
You didn't pay for it, right?
Well, I didn't have any money either, right?
You didn't have
I didn't have a truck that I could steal it. So it's 44,000 with GST because you got to do the GST. So he didn't even tell me GST. So I said, well, I got a block of land. The block of land's worth 20. If I put this house on it, let me find out how much it'd be worth. And so I find out for the value, and he said, if you put that house, which was vinyl clad, instead of, it was like the newest, if you can imagine, this area had houses that would have been at least 30 to 50 years old, every single house. So if I put this house, which was moved from Blacktown in Sydney to his block in Cameraman, and then cut it in half, put it on that block of land in Narrandera, and piece it back together, it's the newest house in the street because that house is 10 years old, and every other house in the street is 30 or 50 years old. So it was hilarious. So we put it together, put on there, but how did I pay for it? The bank said, if you put that house, which is a nicer house than everything else on the street, and it's vinyl clad, and it's got a tin roof, and it's it's not, it wasn't tin, whatever that is. The what's the roofing company that do the roof? I can't remember now.
Yeah.
But once we put it together, they said it'd be worth 130. So I'm like, the house I bought, it's 89. How could this be 130? They said, well, it's just a newer build. That thing's falling apart. We'd rather have an asset on that than that. So I was like, wow, so 44,000. If I can get it there, then I'm going to make more money. So I said to the guy, here's the deal. I can't pay you, but you put it there, and I'll give you in writing to say that if I don't pay you, you get that block of land with your house on it. If I can't pay you the 44,000 within 6 months or something.
Good deal.
He said, yeah. So if I take it there, blah blah, I can get $130,000 house if you don't pay me. So he was like, yeah, okay. Well, how will that work? And I go, well, what I need to do. He understood anyway. He kind of gave me the idea. I refinance it. So he puts it there. I go to the bank. It's 44 that it owes me. I've put it on the block, and the bank comes and says it's worth 130. So I go to the bank and say, can I have 40 now or 44?
Oh yeah, nice.
So refinance 44, gave him the 44. So I've now got the house there 130. And in that house, there were people all around Narrandera that would get together in groups and walk to that house to have a look at it. So like, this is the biggest thing that's ever happened in Narrandera, is seeing a brand new vinyl clad house. So, and people would stand, literally we'd be there, and people would be going along and having a look at this entertainment, this house. It was a real experience. And then we wanted to rent it out, and then we got $170 a week rent for that house. People were fighting over it.
Sure.
People were like, I want to live in that brand new house. It's got tiles, and it's like literally every other house had a concrete floor for the bathroom.
Yeah.
And we had a little deck out the back. The only issue was that as soon as we'd laid the house there, and we still had to, piece it together, we still had to do a reno, we still had to put some grass out the front, we still had to paint it, get it like the best it could possibly be. As soon as we got it there, I had a paintball accident and snapped my leg off. So I couldn't walk for a year.
Oopsies.
So before we were going to reno it, I couldn't basically do anything, and I had to wait 6 months, so it delayed us a bit. And then eventually I could drive with my left foot. I learned how to drive with that because the right foot was no good. It was still repairing. And I couldn't walk, but I could sit on a seat and I could drive, because no way my wife could drive 9 hours. So I learned how to drive with accelerated with my left foot. We got down there. She's short and I'm 6'6", and the place is just like 2.4 meters high, right? So I could have easily painted the architraves and everything like that, but I couldn't stand up properly because one of my legs wasn't working right. It was still repairing. The injury I had, it wasn't a break, it was a snap, and that's a little bit different from a break. But the funniest thing is that we got these photos of Amy standing on this ladder, and she's, I don't know how tall is Amy? 5 foot something. So I don't know. She's standing on this ladder, painting the ceiling in this house, and I'm laying on the floor, and they're like, well, you guys are crazy. Like, why don't she do the stuff on the floor, paint the little strips on the floor, and you do the roof? And I'm like, well, I can't stand up for that long.
Bastard.
So it was the funniest start into it. And then Amy, I said, Amy's like, well, what can you do? And her parents came down and helped us too, but I laid all the grass. So when you get the grass, it comes in those rolls. So I could, like a commando, I could move on the grass, right? So I just said, put the rolls there, and I'll just push them down. I'll roll them out. I was like a walking cripple, a crawling cripple, really, because I couldn't walk at all. But me, I me, Johnny. I'll play for injury, right? I'll figure out a way to get through it. I've done that plenty of times. But see, this is where it all changed, right?
Yep.
If we'd just gone and bought a house and tried to rent it out in Narandra, it wouldn't have got us any further.
Yeah.
We were paying off an old house. It was get a little bit of rent. We had a house, great. But because we'd subdivided the land, because we put now a house on it, now we go back to the bank with our broker and they go, congratulations, guys. You've got 2 houses.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything changes then. The bank suddenly goes, you guys are smart. And they're like, your houses are actually, or that house on the left there is actually worth more than we've lent you for, you know. So that's when we started thinking, hey, you know, this strategy worked for us on a budget. Learn all the skills, subdivision, all this type of stuff in Narandra. Then we started, and then I'm pretty much incapacitated, so I didn't have a job. No way you can film when you can't even stand up for a long time. So I'd lay in bed with my laptop on my chest and look for similar deals, more profit, and we end up in Cannon Hill, Grenade Street in Cannon Hill.
No way.
Up in Queensland, but I'm still in Sydney.
Yeah.
I've never even been to Brisbane more than once. Gold Coast plenty of times. And I found this deal there. And guess what?
What?
It's exactly the same as Narandra.
Yeah.
It was an old shitty house no one wanted, but on a big block of land.
Yep.
And no one would buy it because it only had 1 bathroom.
Yep.
And 2 bedrooms. And I'm thinking, this is great. Why isn't anyone buying it? And it's because that area was all families, and they're like, we don't want this crappy old house. This guy had a problem selling it, and then I didn't have $575,000 to buy it back then. So then I got in the community of people that were learning the same type of thing as I was learning, and I said to anyone, if we subdivide that block of land off, I've done it before in over here in Narandra, it's actually worth at the end of the day, 300,000. So if we buy the place for 575, we subdivide that land off. That land on its own is 300. So there's money sitting around here, you know. But I didn't have the money to do it, so I said to people, "Does anyone have 575,000 that they can borrow?"
I can get you.
But I was only 89,000, you know, and I'd already borrowed 40 to pay back the guy with the house removal guy. But and everyone said, of course, everyone here, you know, 5,000 people in that community were like, we've all can borrow 575, no problem. And I said, well, you will need another 100,000 at least to subdivide.
Yeah.
Because you've got to pay contributions and all these other things. And I said, so, but we still worth 300,000. And then 10 people came to us and said, we're ready to do it tomorrow. Let's do it. And the deal was exact same thing we do today. This is what we teach people the skill is to subdivide that property and to be able to increase the value of it. Basically, that's what we're doing there. And because we don't have the money, that's fine, because someone knows those figures can be achieved. Then they give us the money and we split the profit 50-50.
Job done, everyone.
Simple. Yeah, I bring the skill, they pay the bills.
Yep.
That's like that sweat equity. It happens in business all the time. And then that deal there, I'm in a bed lying down in Sydney, in a 1-bedroom cottage that Amy and I were living in Drummoyne. And I found this property with her help, and we found a JV partner to be able to finance the whole thing. I didn't even fly up there. I didn't even do anything. And they just bought it and then just did all the paperwork, found the people, subdivided it. And I'm thinking this will take 6 months to subdivide it, put in the application, and then next month it's done. And it was like, this is fantastic. Love this stuff. Because it's the same as Narandra. It was already there, the block of land, so why not do it? So that was Grenade Street up there in
good old Grenade Street.
Hill, yeah. And I was talking to my students the other day, showing them that deal, and on the back of that, there's another street there. Someone's done exactly the same thing as me.
Yep.
So I reckon that once I kick that off, I think the whole of Brisbane just copied me. I'll have to take credit for that.
Hang on a minute.
But we made 145,000 out of that, right?
That'll work.
And so suddenly, so the JV partner then got us to build a house on it, and then we went around the corner and we did another one there, made another 400,000 on that. And I'm on a job earning 60,000 a year because all the costs and expenses and everything, that was my income at the end of the day. And then that was my taxable income, and then you got to live off that. And on the side, I'm making 145,000 here, 300,000 here, 400,000 here. Dad and Mum, I didn't tell them what's going on because I thought that they knew we were doing this and that, but I didn't. They weren't that interested, to be honest, because they would have thought we were risking, dangerous type of thing. And then I walked into the office one day after a really bad weekend, because when you're doing sports, people stuff it up and they miss the goal, try.
Oh, please.
And then the coach yells at you, like that all comes back to you. They go, oh, yeah, I went to the bathroom and half time and I was hanging a leak and I heard the whistle go and I rushed back up with my pants halfway down my ankles and the guy bloody scores a try in the first kickoff. Like, that doesn't happen. Oh, great. So you missed the try. Oh, how's that going to look, So we don't get paid for that. And then the coach rings us up. Hey, I'm like, yeah, I know what we did wrong. He goes, how would you miss the try? And so I didn't miss it, of course, but our crew did. So that happened. I got high integrity, as you know me. I feel everything personally, and just a bad weekend. Like 4 or 5 people had stuffed up. Someone went to the wrong ground, like suburbs and suburbs away, because some areas have the same suburb, pretty similar to it. Like, I thought you meant this ground, because they just must have looked at it instead of looking at their call sheet of the map, and they'd gone to a ground that was a netball field instead of a football field. Like Foster Park or something. I went to Foster Park. I'm up in Newcastle at Foster Park. It's in Illawarra. What are you doing up there? This stuff used to happen every weekend, and I had 2 mental breakdowns where so much stuff had gone wrong in the office. I think every guy's done this, right, Johnny? Maybe you have too, where you just grab everything in your office, just throw it. It's like, I've had enough. And then the computer screen, grab that, throw that across the room. Like, you've done that? Have you ever blown up like that?
Not quite. I've thrown some dumbbells around the gym, though.
Yeah. It's like, that's mental breakdown. Do you know what I mean? Where it doesn't make any sense. But so much stuff's going on. And I loved working with my dad. That was my biggest problem. And it was just, we're not getting paid this week, Jason, because this guy hasn't paid us because blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, great. Thanks, Dad. And he's like, oh, by the way, everyone else is getting paid this week, but there's not enough for you. You're going to have to wait. Like, oh, thanks, Dad. I understood because, I know the business. So then I walked into Dad's office and said, Dad, can I have a $300,000 pay rise? And he's like, no bloody way. What are you talking about? I said, I've been working here for 5 years now.
Time to get.
There's no way that we have that money to give you that. And I said, well, I've made that on the side, Dad. And he's like, oh, I was wondering how you were buying all those clothes. We're buying G-Star, And,
So that was the end of that job.
He said, so I sat down and he's like, this is amazing. I didn't know you guys are making that much money. You're doing well. And he's like, well, I probably don't need to pay you now. Like, I'm not working for free. This is stressful work.
Just so
there's a guy, Jimmy, and he said, you train Jimmy up to do your job, and then you can go. Yeah. But you're not going to leave me on the lurch like that. So I trained Jimmy up. I left, and then I didn't talk to Dad for like 6 months because what are we going to talk about? Because all we taught you to talk about work. So, that was it. And then you saw the house when I met you in Belinda, right? The same type of deal. Double block, took the house away and just built 2 there. And we made $600,000 on that.
Mm. No.
And it was, I've always been someone now, but I was very negative when I was a cameraman.
Mm.
I hated everything and used to complain and road rage, because I just felt like I hadn't accomplished what I could out of my skills,
Yeah.
And then when you saw me, a pretty happy bloke, right?
Yeah.
So,
I love.
and I
I
like
like.
improving technique. And I think a lot of personal trainers out there just have been taught like a school method of doing stuff, and this is what the machine does, is how this machine works, but they don't look into your technique and how you're doing it, and there's no optimized. Every personal trainer, you get 10 of them, or from what my experience in gyms, they're going to teach you exactly the same thing. You know what I mean? This is what the problem with personal trainers. Their technique to perform the exercise better is really just, they've only been taught one thing. And then what I loved about coming and working out with you guys is you're tweaking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost similar, and I can relate to that because that's kind of what I do with property. I'm tweaking it. I'm going, we don't do it that way. If we do it this way, we make twice as much profit, So we don't buy a house and renovate it. We'll subdivide it and do it this way and do that. And I think that's really what I've always chased. And even in my own personal fitness, I'm now someone that wants to perfect things, wants to find a person that can teach me the best possible way to do things, not just anyway. So
Love.
Bit of a long story, but you're not doing too much chatting. I hope I'm not taking over.
John, it's your podcast, brother. Not mine. No one needs to hear stories. I talk enough. But and was it? Did you find people gravitating to you to ask questions on how to do it, and that's how you got into the mentoring side of things? And you're just like, hang on a minute, people keep asking me, and keep delivering good information. So maybe I should teach people a bit more officially. Is that how it landed for you?
Yeah, it did kind of end up like that, because when we went and so I started filming the girl. Then she said $6,000 for my course if you want to come and do the whole thing, because I was just filming one part of it, just her pitch really. And then we went and I went back to Amy and I said, Amy, it's $6,000. This is when we had, I'm still cameraman, she's still marketing. I said, $6,000 to do this course, but I really want to do it. Like, I got to. And Amy's response, and Amy, she's pretty blunt to the point. She's smart at that way. She goes, well, every cent that you're spending now, you're wasting. You're not making any money out of it. At least if you spend money on this, you might make money out of it. So she's like, all you do now is waste money. And I didn't really ask her that. I just asked her if we should spend money on the course. But she's very...
about it.
So she said, well, at least it might be worthwhile instead of you buying something that we don't, make money out of. So so she went and did it with me. And then we learned the course for like 3 or 4 days, learning it. And then we started looking for that property, right? Everyone else in the course is just gone home, gone back to their normal life. They weren't actually implementing. And I thought that was the point. And then like about, 3 months later, we're catching up with all these people. And we're saying, so we're doing this stuff in the Randa, and we found out that we couldn't afford anything here, went down there, then found this block. And they were like, are you actually doing it? Like, you're doing stuff. We're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, tell us again. How do you do this? How do you do that? Because it was stuff that even the course gave you a strategy. It didn't give you the steps and processes as much. And then everyone's so interested in us. They're like, oh, can we set up where everyone comes to the pub and we all sit down there and you tell us about everything you're doing? Because this is amazing. So then we get to the pub and we haven't even really, we just bought a property ready to subdivide it. And then we become like these mini celebrities with everyone else that's done the course because they hadn't done anything. And I think because of our action, that people gravitated to us. And then when we wanted to do that first JV, people were like, oh, can I do it with you guys? Because I seen you went all the way to Naranja, you did that subdivision, you did that house, you now got this, you got that. Yeah, we'll give you money, And I think that's where people kind of doubt the whole no money down deals, that people with money are just looking for skillful people. And if you can show them a technique that will double their money, then they're happy to do it. Because remember, most people borrow the money from the bank to buy whatever they're going to buy to develop anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to put some cash in, so they're not really interested in how much they're making on the bank's money that they borrowed, because they're just paying an interest rate, 5% or whatever. They're interested in how much more can we make out of it now? How much more profit? And that's where people just gravitated to us. And then eventually we became the most famous students out of the whole course, because we're just doing deal after deal and all this stuff's happening. And I start just telling people, like, I was pretty shy at that stage. I was, because she would say, come along to this event. You're filming it, but come along to this event and talk to the students, And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I'll be filming it. When we did her events, there'd be like 3,000 people, and then I'd need like 2 or 3 cameramen there. So I just got to the point that I was a student anyway, so I said, well, I'll come along and I'll learn, and I'll get another guy to film it.
Yeah.
And then she comes up to me and she goes, can you give me some slides on Subdivision? Like, make me some slides to show people at this event? I'm like, sure, of course, I'll do anything for you. You made me a bloody millionaire now. Like, of course, whatever you say, I'm going to do. And then I make these slides, like 20 slides, and then she's on stage, and there's 3,000 people in the room. It's at the Hilton. And I'm like, oh, she's going to pay my slides now. And I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, well, I made her slides for her. And then she's on the stage, and she's got the mic, and she goes, now I'm going to bring up Jason John Byron, who's going to talk to you about these slides. I'm like, I didn't agree to that. I agreed to do her some slides, not to come talk on stage.
Teach you up, bro.
And then I get on stage, and I go red. My whole face was just, I just went, I was so scared. I never, ever did any public speaking. The cameraman's always behind the camera. You're filming someone famous, blah, blah. Never the other way around. And then, but I wasn't going to say no to her. Like, I won't say no to you either, Like, you tell me to do something, it's like, of course, I'm not, that's what you're meant to do. So, and then even worse, she just walks off the stage.
Oh, leaves you out there. So there we go.
I'm sitting there going, okay, I've got this. I've got to think of everyone naked. No, that didn't work. I'm just kind of like focusing and looking at the cameraman at the back who's filming me, and I'm going, oh shit, I'm here now. And then I was just, okay, go back to the slides. And then I've kind of paused, like you see the video footage on there going, am I doing this on my own? And she goes, yes. I'm like, oh, okay. She's giving me the clicker. And I'm like, okay, all right. So I went to Narendra. And then I kind of just flowed into it. And I thought, well, everything I'm telling people is the truth. It is exactly what I've done here. So I'll just act like, tell them the story like I'm telling my mates and that.
That was
at the end, everyone clapped, and I was like, oh, this
yeah, mate. Could do.
From there, she was like, we started doing more and more. We never lost money, Johnny.
Unreal.
Like, most people lose money in real estate. We're just like, well, we didn't lose money because we bought something that already had the potential to make more. And so that's when everyone then starts seeing us do deal after deal, JV after JV, and then just constantly making more and more money. And they're all coming to us. Can I buy you a coffee? Can I come sit down with you for a week? And we're like, we just do it out of our bedroom. like, there's the bed there. There's the desk. Like, I don't really want you in my bedroom. It was, and that's it. That's all. Like, it's not like the block where, you have arguments and you go and do stuff. We're not renovators. We just look at the property. How big is it? Cut it in half. Yeah, let's buy it. Because we already know the value of stuff. And you ring another guy, a town planner. Can I do this? Yeah, of course. Can you do it for me? Yeah. Okay. You do it. I'll buy it. You do the work. You put the subdivision for the council, and then because you know what to do. So, and then it's really not that complicated. Opportunity is complicated. You and I talk a lot of times about, how much is the land worth and what can we do to it and what's the council like. And that's kind of where it ends up. So
I love it.
That's the story. I don't know if
No,
it's
it's cool.
exciting to anyone or sounds.
A lot of people get a lot of things out of that, bro. 100%. I think that the narrative is grit, determination, and not just the desire to talk, but actually do the thing. Because I think there's a huge gap in there that everyone does, and that is they just learn, talk, say, but they just don't do the do they?
Yeah, and I think it's listening to your coach too,
Yeah.
like listening to your mentor. I mean, we've been working out for, I don't know, I was up to 5 years, must be past that now, almost. We met during COVID, so COVID was 2000, or before COVID, when was it?
Pre-COVID, brother. Yeah, yeah.
Pre-COVID? Just, it wouldn't be much pre.
Well, maybe a year or
Yeah,
so.
maybe a year, so 2019 up to now. And really, I worked, as soon as I started, I'm like, yeah, let's do this on a weekly basis. And I haven't, the only time that I've missed a week is if I've been sick.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Didn't matter where on this planet we still trained.
consistency, you tell me turn up, I'm turning up. You tell me to do it this way, you tell me to do bloody lunges and squats, and I'll be like, there's something in my body says I'm not meant to do this, but if you tell me to do it, I've got to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Love it, brother. Mate, I've got one more question for you. It's the most question out of all of it. It's what's for lunch?
What's for lunch? I think it'll just be pasta today. I kind of have to pre-plan my workout so that I make sure I do eat.
Good man.
So yeah, I've had my protein, I've had my creatine, had my glutamine.
Good mine.
So that's all. I make up my little shake, and now go to the pesto pasta. Is that good? Is that enough, or do I need two bowls or one bowl?
Bowls for you, bro. We've got to grow.
2 bowls.
Brother, mate, I love it, mate. Where do people find you? Where are you? What's the best way to grab you? Website, Instagram, what do they like? Where are you?
Google, I'd say. Think Property Club.
Yeah.
There's only one Jason John Byron in the world, so that's good.
I'll
There's
put
plenty
the
of
link.
Jason Byrons, but there's only one Jason John Byron.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
plenty of stuff. People put our name in, and yeah, you find heaps of stuff. And we do give free training, so
Yeah.
that's our whole idea, to give you a bit of free training to get used to it and then move on to there. And then we give you books and stuff for you to kind of have some information before you start, so it's good. So yeah, always happy to do it.
Reach out, have a chat, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for everything too. I appreciate the journey that we've both been on together.
Well, mate, it was good to get you on.
Yeah.
And we come on and hear about some of those stories doing DJ work, bro.
Oh, God, no, I can't talk about that.
All right,
Some
talk to you soon.
naughty days. Those are the naughty days.